I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes this morning about proper hook set and some tips on fighting the fish. You know, there are different species of fish out there, and it depends on what species you're after. So if you, let's say you've got that dream vacation and you're out in Idaho or Montana, and you finally got that 24-inch rainbow to come up and sip on that fly, and you're getting ready to set the hook, you don't want to rip it out of the water, rip it out of his mouth. You don't want to rip it out or hook him and break that 4-pound tippet. So you want to protect that tippet at all costs. So when you do the hook set, you want to lift the rod tip and get the rod tip to bend approximately like that, at that angle. That'll create a proper hook set, and it'll protect the tippet, because the most force that you can put on the rod tip at that angle is about 2 to 3 pounds of pressure on that fish. So you're protecting that 4-pound tippet. Now if I set the hook and it's more like this, I'm liable to either break my tippet or I'm liable to pull it out of his mouth. Another thing, if I'm like this, then I simply don't have a hook set that's going to be powerful enough to let that hook drive into that fish's flesh. So consider that when you make that hook set on that real tender tippet, that real light tippet, okay? Another hook set that you want to consider, let's say you're a tarpon fisherman or a red fisherman in South Louisiana, permit fishing, those types of fish, they have a relatively tough mouth. So when that fish takes that fly, you want to take up the slack on that fly line, that whatever slack is laid up on the water, and you want to not point the rod directly at the fish. You want to come off about 15 to 20 degrees, take your line in your line hand and set the hook like this by pulling back hard on the rod, on the line, setting the hook, making the rod look at about that angle. That angle will create an 8 to 10 pound hook set. Okay, that, and you can fight the fish from here. If you start fighting that strong fish from up here or from over here, you're not going to be putting much pressure on that fish. You want to fight a fish like a tarpon or a redfish from what we call down and dirty, from here and here. That way you can put a lot of pressure on that fish. Don't ever point the rod directly at the fish, because that you can break the tippet at that point. So just come off and let the rod absorb some of the pressure of that fish as he pulls and fights and runs. So those tips will help you in catching your redfish and your trout. Protect that tippet at all times, but also utilize the rod as a shock absorber when fighting that fish. You may have to set the hook a couple of times on a fish like a tarpon. As he runs, you're setting that hook. Redfish, oftentimes we have to set the hook a couple of times. Not all hooks are extremely as sharp as we'd like them to be. And if you don't feel like you got quite as good a hook set it a couple of times and protect that tippet at all costs. Again, I'm Keith Richard, Master Casting Instructor with Fly Fishers International, here with A Hero USA. Check them out on aherousa.com.